Hello, people of grace. For our pastoral connect today, we return to Philippians chapter 4 after celebrating Resurrection Sunday in our worship time last week. And in Philippians 4, we're looking at this idea of how God's peace guards our hearts and our minds. But there's also steps we can do to help us apply that grace that God has put into us. And those steps are laid out as something that we should think through or how we should process life. And one of the things that Paul mentions in that list is whatever is commendable. Think on this, process this, take this deeply into you. But what does commendable mean? Well, it can mean something that is a good report or something that's kind of worth speaking. But it goes a little deeper than just our words for the Hebrew people, and for many of the non-Hebrew people of the ancient world as well, was this kind of bigger worldview that there was something transcendent, something that went beyond our understanding. And for the Hebrew people, we know that that is the great I am, God, the Creator, who showed us himself in the person and work of Jesus Christ. And so someone who spends enough time focusing on what is commendable develops what some in some more Eastern versions of Christianity call this kind of interior prayer, this heart of just awareness of God's presence, the eternal one, and therefore looking at everything differently and even speaking differently. So it's an awareness that changes how we think about and what we choose to report on because we know God is there. For example, if we are focusing on what is commendable, even when we're frustrated with somebody else, even with that person that we most feel like we can trust, that we can vent to, it would change how we speak about that person because we would recognize that God is present, and that changes everything. The awareness of God, who's not just transcendent and up there and far beyond all that we could ask or imagine. He's close. He's present. And this changes how we think about our inner narrative and how we speak about things. A good example of this, and there's actually some connections between Psalm 63 and this passage, but a good example of this is David in Psalm 63 when he was fleeing from Absalom. Absalom had done his rebellion. King David had to flee out into the desert. And while he was out in the desert and his life was very much at risk, he wrote Psalm 63. And he says, "Your steadfast love, God, is better than life. My lips will praise you." That's a good report. "I will bless you as long as I live. In your name I will lift up my hands. My soul will be satisfied as with good food, and my mouth will praise you with joyful lips." Even when he was hunted, even when David felt like he had lost everything, and David had really brought that on himself in so many ways, yet he focused on what was of good report. Nothing is merely common. There is only the sacred and that which for us has lost its sacredness and become desecrated. Nothing is common. Everything is sacred or has lost its sacredness and become desecrated. When you focus on what's of good report, you start to recover a little bit of the sacredness of all things because God is present in all things. That changes how we process internally. That changes how we speak. It changes a lot, and that's encouraging. So think on what is commendable, and let your heart be turned more and more to an interior prayer, recognizing the presence of God. Have a blessed day.